all to the lecture video session on the first module, transmission and distribution, and introduction to power systems, where we are going to learn what is transmission and distribution and what are the types of materials that are involved there and what are the different components and the equipments that are required to transmit the power from the generating station to the user. So we all really wonder that how the transmission and distribution started and what is the history of the transmission and distribution. And when we see this, we understand that in electric power system, which was invented by Thomas Edison, very early usage, it was with the arc lamps and for lighthouse illumination and street lighting. There it was a standalone units and there was no thinking of transmitting the power from one end to the other end. So there Edison established the first power station in New York in 1881 and he named it as Pearl Station. And the station capacity was only 25 HP boilers. There were only 4 boilers which were supplying steam to 6 generators. And the very interesting factor is that it was a DC generator which was like working, and then it supplied the power to 59 consumers over the area of around roughly 1.5 kilometers of radius, and at 110 volts. That's why even now we see that in America, whenever we go there, it is 110 volts, which is which is the supply voltage. And then if we need our equipments to work on 110 volts, we need to take a unit which is going to reduce the voltage, increase the voltage from 110 volts to 230 volts. So basically it stood as 110 volts stood as the standard transmitting voltage, and they have supplied it through underground cable system later, and then it expanded in the year 1884. And AC system, and then they thought about the disadvantages of the DC system, and then with the invention of the AC system from L. Gabler and then J.D. Gibbs of Paris, they're from France, and then they found that AC system is going to be much more advantageous with the high voltage and then the long transmission, and there they found that it is going to be highly economical, and at the same time it is going to be very reliant, and maintenance would be very easy, and that all this happened with the invention of transformers. That's why we say that the transformer is a static device, and then that is the highest efficiency which has got among all the electric equipments, and roughly around 98 to 99%, 99.5% its efficiency is always defined. So with the introduction of the AC polyphase systems, earlier it was a single phase system, later on it got modified into 3-phase system, and with the invention of 3-phase system by N. Tesla, it increased the attraction of AC systems. So thereby all the inventions queued up, and then inventions got lined up with the first AC transmission line which worked at 4000 volts, that is at 4 kilovolts, and it was a single phase 21 kilometer long line which was put into the operation. That was put into operation in Oregon, North America, between Willamette Falls and then Portland. And after this, after lots of debates over AC or DC for the long distance transmission, and the overheads in transmission for transmission and distribution, with all the factors like weighed up, AC stood up, and then AC won the debate, and then the AC system operation started with a voltage of 2.3 kilovolts, and then it started with a line length of 12 kilometer. And the transmission line got AC systems, and thereby the invention of the AC system went to multifolds, and then we know that AC system can carry higher voltages right from and it can carry voltage from the generating station to the user. So standardization of the frequencies were necessary to avoid any kind of interconnection of lines. So the standardization of the lines stood at, hence North America adopted 60 Hertz, and then we adopted 50 Hertz, and other parts of the globe also adopted 50 Hertz, and North America stood at 60 Hertz. Up to 1921, the AC system voltages were around 12 kilovolts, 44 kilovolts, 60 kilovolts, and then it was RMS voltage, line to line voltage, and subsequently it got developed over the decades, and now it is at 1100 kilovolts at 1990. So where we started, it was around 12 kilovolts, and where we end up in 1990, we developed the system to 11. So right from 11 kV to 1100 kV at 1990, we started the standardization of the voltages. It was also felt very necessary because we were on to the kilovolts, and then it is not the lower voltage. So in India, the standardization of the voltages stood at 132 kilovolts, 220 kilovolts for high voltage transmission, and 400 kilovolts, 765 kilovolts for extra high voltage transmission. Above 1000 kilovolts was categorized into ultra high voltage. So now the maximum generating voltage in India was is 21 kilovolts, and then the other advanced countries were about 33 kilovolts. So now for long distance, again HVDC proved to be very economical, and then it is very easy to transmit, and then since the maintenance cost is very low, the like the cost of the overall system of transmission and the distribution was found to be very economical. So it is invented with the mercury arc valves, and then it is in was in 1950s, way back in 1950s, and today up to 800 kilovolts could be transmitted with the HVDC lines, and then they became operational with the help of the solid state devices. We all know that the solid state devices are the fast switching devices which could give us the fastest operation, as well as which will work at the highest efficiency, and then it proved to be very economical too. Now the DC transmission has become overly advantageous compared to the AC transmission, and for more than 500 kilometers of overhead transmission line, and for 50 kilovolts of 50 kilometers of underground line cables, the DC transmission is found to be very advantageous. In India, plus or minus 500 kilovolts is operational for HVDC transmission line, and we are progressing faster in terms of increasing the line voltages to extra high voltage, and then to the UHV lines. And there is one line which is operational with a plus or minus 500 kilovolts, that is between Rihan to Dadri, which is operational, and there is one more line which is from Tamil Nadu, which covers Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, and that is also one of the line which is on the operation. In 1998, a high voltage synchronous machine, which is called as a power former, that is suitable for the direct connection with the high voltage network without any step up transformer, was launched. So because of this power former, the rating of the first power former 45 kilovolts, 42 MVA. So with this invention, it became even more advantageous to have the HVDC lines, and it became very economical too compared to the AC lines, because it occupies less space, it involves less number of transmission lines, and it also involves less cost in terms of towers, and then in terms of the space that is occupied for the towers. So with this electric power system, what is exactly electric power system? Basic structure of the electric power system is that the conveyance of electric power from the power station to the consumer premises is known as the electric power systems. We all know that the electric power stations are in the remote areas, whereas the users are in the urban areas. Now the challenge was to bring the power with less like line losses to the consumer premises. So the transmission and distribution became a very interesting topic, and then it became a very big research area with the invention of all SCADA systems, and then now it is the AI is into place, and then with the invention of PLC series, we have invented the many ways to reduce the line losses and make the faster switching operations, and then to bring down the maintenance cost of the particular transmission line. So with this, nowadays power system it's a very complicated one, because there are a number of renewable energy sources which are into the grid, and then the grid has got the higher voltage lines, and then it is also having the conventional and the non-conventional energy sources, and which are connected and interlinked, and the power system is connected in entire India, and the grid wise, region wise, it is separated, and then there are instead of having the 4 different regions like north, east, west, south, we have divided the entire Indian power system into the 2 big grids, north and south. And now the power generated are from hydel, power generated are from wind, thermal, nuclear, and then the renewable energy sources like solar, and then the hybrid energy sources also. So they're all integrated for the transmission line, and then the grid operation and maintenance is a big challenge with the invention of better systems and then the advanced technical systems. It is becoming more and more efficient, and then the sustainable efficient source and efficient systems. Now, it is a big challenge that to integrate the conventional and the non-conventional energy sources, and it is very, very important. The electric power that is generated is transmitted to the local centers through the power supply network, which consists of transmission lines, transformers, and switchgears. So the transmission network are classified into four parts: the transmission system, sub-transmission system, primary distribution system, and secondary distribution system. The complete system consists of the generators, transformers, transmission lines or cables, switch gears, and protection system. Therefore, an electric supply system has got three principal components, like the power station, the transmission lines, and then the distribution system. The electric power is produced at the power stations, which are located at the favorable places, and generally they're quite away from the consumers, and then it is transmitted over the large distance to the load centers with the help of the conductors called as transmission lines. Finally, it is distributed to the large number of small and the big consumers through the distribution network. And the electric power supply system is broadly classified into DC or AC system. And second one is the overhead or ground system, underground system. In this entire transmission and distribution subject, we are going to study the overhead lines, the components that are involved in it, the underground system, the distributors, and the performance of the transmission parameters and the kind of transmission parameters. So to begin with the typical AC power system, I have shown the single line diagram here. The large network of conductors are connected right from the generating station to the consumers. So here, as I already mentioned, that from the generating station till the consumer premises, there are four different stages that are involved here. So entire system can be divided into two systems. One is the transmission system and the other one is the distribution system. The transmission system is again divided into two systems, that is the primary transmission system and the secondary transmission system. And again, the distribution system is divided into primary distribution system and the secondary distribution system. There are different voltage levels for the primary transmission system and then the secondary transmission system. Figure shows the simple layout of AC power supply system over a single line diagram with the help of the single line diagram. So now in this, it is not necessary that all power schemes must have all the four stages. It all depends on the voltage level that is generated and then the transmitted. With this, we have got, as I said, we have got four systems here. That is the primary transmission system, secondary transmission system, primary distribution system, and then the secondary distribution system. We can observe here that the generating station is producing the power of 11 kV at the level of 11 kV lines. With the help of the step-up transformer in the primary transmission, it is stepped up to 132 kilovolts, and then it is received in the primary transmission receiving center. That is, this kind of receiving stations are called as RS, and 132 kilovolts is again stepped down to 33 kilovolts here. And then it is received in the secondary transmission center, and then this secondary transmission center is feeding the primary distribution center. Again, this 33 kilovolts is reduced to 11 kilovolts, and then the 11 kilovolts is received at this primary distribution center. And from the 11 kilovolt, that is called as 11 kilovolt center, that is called as SS substation. And this 11 kilovolts is again reduced to 400 kilovolts, that is the DS, that is the distribution station, secondary distribution station, where the service mains are connected and then the distributors are connected to the secondary distribution center. From the 11 kV line, that is from the primary distribution center, directly the voltages will be given to the heavy industries where it needs the heavy voltages, and they have got their own substations, and those lines which carries the higher current rating are called as feeders, and feeders are not directly connected to the consumer premises, and instead they are connected to the industries which demand high power. And With this, we will be able to understand that the distribution network consists of the service mains, distributors, and then the feeders. So the generating station, as I already said, that it is at plus or minus 11 kV, and it will be transmitted, and then it will be stepped up to 132 kV. And here, increasing of the transmission voltage reduces the losses, and it increases the insulation problems, because it demands a high level switch gears and then the transformer equipments, and the cost is involved, and then the cost is high here. And then the choice of proper transmission voltage is directly related to the economics of the transmission system, and generally the primary transmission levels, voltage levels that are carried will be 6. So generally it will be 66 kV, 132 kV, 220 kV, or 400 kV. So the primary transmission is like electric power at 132 kilovolts is transmitted by three-phase, three-wire overhead system to the outskirts of the city, and this forms the primary transmission system. Now the secondary transmission is that primary transmission line is terminated at the RS, that is the receiving station, which usually lies on the outskirts of the city, and here the primary transmitted level of voltage is reduced to 33 kilovolts, 132 to 33 kilovolts using the step down transformers. From this, station power is transmitted at 33 kilovolts by three-phase, three-wire overhead system to various substations located at the strategic points in the city. This forms a secondary transmission. Now thinking about the primary distribution, secondary transmission line terminates at the substation, that is SS, as shown in the schematic diagram, and it is reduced to 11 kV, three-phase, three-wire. 11 kV lines run along the important road sides of the city, and this forms the primary distribution. It may be noted that the big consumers having the demand more than 50 kilowatt are connected directly to the 11 kV lines through these lines are called as feeders, and they will have their own substation wherein they will be using this feeder line, and they'll utilize it, they'll captivate the use of this 11 kV line to their voltage levels. Now the secondary distribution line, the electric power system from the primary distribution line, which is received at 11 kV, will be further reduced to 400 volts and then to 230 volts, and then this particular substation is called as distribution substation, which is situated inside the city, and this will be the voltage levels that are reduced are 400 volts, three-phase 400, three-phase 4-wire for secondary distribution. Line to line voltage will be 400 volts, which will be required for the industries, and then the line to neutral voltage which are required for the lighting loads and then the residential loads can be tapped from here, that is 230 volts. Now motor loads are industrial loads, and then the heater loads are also industrial loads, and then they tap the line to line supply, and as I already mentioned that the lighting loads will tap 230 volts, which will be line to neutral, that is single phase line. So the secondary distribution system can be represented with the help of the diagram, where the distribution station, from the distribution station it is two feeders are connected. Let's consider the distribution network A, B, C, D, A. Now the service mains are tapped from the distributors. A, B, B, C, C, D, and then A, D represent the distributors. Distributors service mains are the small short transmission lines, and then whereas the DS, that the distribution station, is directly connected to the points A and C through the feeders. As I already mentioned that the feeders will not, feeders represents in this diagram SC and SA are radiating from the distribution station, and this represents the radial network, and this is going to feed the points at C and A where the distributors are connected from these 2 points. So distributors tap the power from this, and then the feeders will have the high current and high current carrying conductors, so they carry high current and will be supplying the power to the distributors. So now fundamentally there are 2 systems by which the electrical energy can be transmitted. They are high voltage DC system HVDC, and then the high voltage AC system HVAC. What are the advantages of the DC transmission system? We have already studied, and then we understood that the number of the transmission lines that are required for the DC is very less, that is only 2, and so there is the economic factor in it, and even one conductor could be used using earth as a return. So there it results in the saving of the copper. And because we all know that we are dependent for the copper on the and the export and the import duties, and then the customs, everything attracts the cost, and then the cost would go up as long as we do not reduce the usage or the consumption of the copper, where we are totally dependent on the other countries. So the potential stress on the insulator is also reduced, and is around 70% compared to the AC system. Inductance, capacitance, and then the phase displacement due to the surge problems are also eliminated in the DC system, because the system will not be considered to have the surge problems because of the surge impedance, less surge impedance, and then the efficiency of the system will be very high. And no stabilizer required, because there will not be the too much of fluctuation that is observed during the long distance transmission. And then the economical use of the underground cables inside the city is also possible with the DC transmission system. Stress on the insulation